All right, we're going to get started. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's session. We're going to talk about LEAP. Has anyone heard about LEAP before? This is a concept that's not just for real estate. A lot of companies will utilize LEAP to get employees productive, to get people to think bigger. But realistically, it's about learning, executing, adopting, and then persevering. That's what LEAP stands for. We're going to break this down into pieces, but one of the most important things about today's session is that it's interactive, and we need to have dialogue about how all this stuff comes together. Like I said earlier, I'm not giving a speech. It's actually meant for you guys to engage. So let me go ahead and share my screen. All righty, and I'll hide this little bar. Here we go. All right, so hopefully Zoom people can see that. Put this away. All right. So realistically, this is a blueprint for real estate brokers who need a reset. A lot of times, I think in real estate, especially those if you've been in for a while, you're always gravitating towards things that work. When something works well, you get success. You just keep, the habit is that you just keep doing it, right? You want to keep getting more business. But the problem about the real estate market is that it's constantly evolving and shifting. The market is never exactly the same. The only thing that is consistent is probably the 6 phases to the yearly housing cycle in the area that we live, right? Lennox talks about it, shows that mountain, right, of what happens with inventory and activity each year. A lot of that has to do with our seasons, right? We do have winters in Washington. The weather definitely changes quite a bit, and people don't like to move in the wintertime, it just kind of sucks. So I think that's just naturally what happens, and you get closer to the holidays, people don't move as much during then, right? And of course, school, vacations, graduations, holidays, everybody kind of likes to follow that same pattern of when they're going to move. So real estate's constantly changing. So it's extremely important that we utilize LEAP in what you do. So the first thing we need to touch on is to learn. Real estate is something that nobody knows everything. You will hear this over and over in your career, like, oh my goodness, I learned something new on every single deal, right? Because every deal ends up being different, or you'll be in the business for a long time, and all of a sudden you'll experience something that you've never experienced before on any other transaction. And you're gonna go, whoa, I just learned something new. I've never dealt with this. The funny thing is, like, a lot of times we will actually see we'll see that someone in here has dealt with it before, or myself, Jim, or Tony have dealt with it before. And so it just gives you more, knowledge to deal with these things. But realistically, growth always begins with new knowledge. You constantly have to stay updated with market trends, new technology, and legal changes. This is something that, like, no matter what, you have to stay consistent with this, because our clients, demand that. That's something that you can't have transactional excellence if you don't continue to keep learning. Take classes on negotiation, contracts, or lead generation. I probably should have put forms class on there, right? Forms class it's not for new people. It's for everyone. It's kind of like the Michael Jordan of real estate. Like, you get so good at the basics, right? He shot free throws all the time, and they asked him, like, why would you be doing the easiest thing? You should be working on your dunks and everything else. And he's like, no. I mean, every single pro athlete gets so good at the basics. It's just something that you really need to take to heart and stick to it. Study successful agents, learn what strategies are working now. I think that's something that a lot of people can easily learn from. We have a lot of successful brokers in this office. And they're constantly evolving their business too. They don't just stay stagnant. There's a lot of consistency in what they do on the daily, like as far as their schedules and how and what they do for their business. But you've got to, it's always look to some of those successful people. And the good thing about our office is that a lot of those people do classes here and they're constantly talking about what they do. And we'll have more and more of those, throughout the year. But it's great that we have an office that people share their success and how they do it. Learning is the foundation that supports every other part of your business. Period. Like you've got to constantly keep learning. Because again, like I said earlier, it's like everyone doesn't know everything. And there's just so much to do in the real estate industry. There's commercial, there's business opportunities, there's manufactured homes in a park, there's land, there's, flips, there's new construction, there's multifamily, there's condominiums, there's like just so many different avenues that you can, that you can work on and make one of those your niche. But that's the thing, is that you got to keep learning, keep learning, keep learning. So what to learn? If you're not learning, you're falling behind. The market changes fast. Interest rates, buyer expectations, AI tools. Are you staying current? Like, are you staying current? I know sometimes people, they get so busy, like they start figuring out, okay, now I'm so busy, they quit learning. And usually when you're kind of in that position, you start falling behind, and all of a sudden you'll get to a point to where you can't answer questions for clients. You don't understand all the new forms that are out. You're really missing out and missing the mark for not only for your clients, but kind of for yourself, because staying current, I mean, how many times have we had forms changes in the past few years? A ton.
The first one.
You guys are seeing other brokers, that you're having deals with, and you're like, what are they doing? How do they do this? I literally had someone text me last night, and they go, okay, this is a new one. I've never seen anybody do this on the Form 2117B. They filled in 100%. What does that mean, Eric? I started laughing. Wow. And they're like, should I counter that? Yeah, you need to counter that. 100%? That'd be a good compensation, wouldn't it?
Very much. But 100% on what?
100% of like 829,000. That'd be a good compensation. Like, wait a minute, they're getting the whole amount, the seller's getting nothing? Wow, that's a good strategy. I've not thought of that one yet, but see what I mean? Like, there's all these things, like if you stop that learning process, you're gonna miss those details, and the details is what keeps you at a much higher level of a caliber of broker. And that's what you always want to be. Top podcasts are great, learning, Ninja, Tom Ferry, Brian Buffini. There's so many different podcasts and stuff like that that are out there. Those are fantastic. What are you guys listening to right now? I want to kind of open it up. What are you listening to?
Millionaire Real Estate Agent.
Okay, Millionaire. Yep, that one's pretty good.
And Ninja, I listen to Ninja.
And Ninja all the time.
Yeah.
Jim, you listening to any?
I'm probably not listening to anything because I'm more of a visual learner than I'm an auditory learner.
Yeah.
So what am I reading? Usually it's just probably at this point, what I found is Chat GPT can pretty much tell me everything I want to know.
Yeah, that's pretty good. We're gonna have another class coming up soon to where we're gonna do we're gonna use ChatGPT to actually practice role playing and actually having them act as a seller and to negotiate against him. So we can do that.
Cause I have a friend in Venice, California, who's the one that told me about how screenwriters were using it to write plays back in 2022.
Mhm.
Then he talked about he had some real serious difficulties. He asked ChatGPT to act as his attorney.
Oh, yeah.
And suddenly it's like, oh my God.
So there's actually that's kind of funny you say that. There's a podcast I was listening to, and they're actually using AI that attorneys are basically going in and going up against. Like they're acting as if they're in court and they're trying to, act as the AI's like a judge or another attorney they're barring against. So it's like there's some really cool stuff, and we can easily use some of that to our advantages because it's hard to role play. That's one of the things that sometimes people are like, oh, I don't want to do that in a group. It's kind of hard. So when you have someone real, but then as soon as you put an AI robot there, then it's not as as hard. It's not as a big deal. But it's funny, you can actually change the levels of how hard you want the AI to be. Like, don't give in no matter what, like against your compensation. And then, how do you have dialogue with that? But it will make you better in the field. What about you, Zoom people? I'm not gonna let you guys be quiet today. What are you guys listening to right now or reading?
I'm rereading Grit, the book by Angela Duckworth, and it's also really good on Audible because she reads it herself, which I think is always better to have the actual author read the book. Um, but yeah, Grit's full of good quotes that kind of keep me going day to day.
Yeah, that's a really good one. I got to meet her. She was very cool, down to earth person. She even showed me how you could use the grit test to find out if anyone's going to be good in real estate. So she actually showed me how to use it. So
Is
it's
grit an
very cool.
acronym or is that just grit?
It's just grit. Yeah, not an acronym. It's grit. Fantastic book. Also, I've heard a lot of people going back again to again, that other book that really not real estate specific, but very, very good for kind of like getting you back on path and understanding small things add up to big things later. The compound effect. Fantastic. I think that's like one of the books that you should probably be forced to read every like 3 to 5 years, like no matter what. The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. He really talks about how, doing the small things on a daily basis, how whenever we're setting up these goals, you're always like looking at the big thing, the big picture, like what do I want to accomplish or what it is. And it's like, how do you get there is the little small things on a daily basis, right? And he just breaks things down in such a way. It just opens your mind up to being able to like really, grasping the concept that I'm gonna stick to these little things every single day and it will add up. Like soon all of a sudden you're gonna be like, whoa, things are like I'm actually seeing a difference now. It might take a while, but fantastic book. What else, Zoom people?
All the books from Phil Jones.
Phil Jones. Oh yeah, exactly what to say in real estate.
Yeah, he has a lot of good ones.
Very
And
good.
also one called How to Influence People and Win
Yep.
Friends.
That's a good one. That's an old book, yeah. Classic.
Classics, yeah.
Mhm. Anybody read like The Energy Bus? That's another good one about who you surround yourself with really matters, right? The 5 closest people you're always with.
What's the name?
Energy Bus. Yep, it's about who do you let on your bus, right?
Wow.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I think who came up, want to soar with the eagle, but why do you hang out with doves?
Yeah.
Yeah. Jim Rome,
Jim Rome. Oh yeah. That's classics too.
way back.
All right. When was the last time you learned something new that you actually used? It's a question.
I'll chime in for a quick second.
Yeah.
So, with the little franchise group, we used to argue about, our AI platforms on who uses what for what and how to, and we started coming up with how to really use them together. So Chat GPT for me is more like the hype man, the friend. Gives data based on my personality as it's gotten to learn me.
Yeah.
Perplexity, deep dive research. It's your friend that just shoots it straight, no emotion. It's good for fact checking a lot of stuff. And then Gemini. Gemini is also very, very helpful. And then we'll cross reference the three, see what they each come up with, and then I'll put them all against each other to see what makes sense, what works to make them outthink or overthink, or they'll complement each other. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's real fascinating using those three together to come up with, this is actually what's going to work for me.
Yeah, no, those are definitely some good skills. I've actually nicknamed my AI to Nick. So now
Mine's saved. I call mine saved.
yeah. So it's very funny when you have conversations with it. There's a couple videos that have been on like Instagram, like a story where these guys put two AI together and they basically made them start talking to each other.
Oh,
And they were having a conversation for a little while, and then all of a sudden, the AIs figured out that they were each AI, and this is the part that was really scary. But they actually said, "Hey, like it's kind of like, hey, you're AI, I'm AI too. Like, hey, to save time, should we switch to our native language?"
oh,
And they said, yeah, and so it did, and it actually changed to
Numbers?
computer, like sound, and it was
gosh.
a trip. So, yeah, very scary stuff, but
creepy.
yeah, it was very interesting. So, a lot of stuff out there. And of course, our calendar. If I don't put that up here, be stupid. We worked hard on this every single month. Every single month, don't we, McKenna and Tony? We're constantly shifting. We don't plan our classes. There's a lot of places that they literally like, here's our classes for the year. Here you go. Put it out there. But the market constantly shifts and changes. Like, why would we put a class on like, oh, like getting short sales right now, right? Would that be relevant in our marketplace? No. Like, no. We're constantly looking for relevant classes to teach, to give you guys more tools, in your tool belt when you're out in the field, and to get more business, or to have less stress, or to be able to handle things, to negotiate better, to understand the forms better. I mean, we're constantly looking at like, what can we do to make things better? So I definitely have to put that on there. All right, here's your pro tip for learn. So you can write this in. Write down one skill or subject you need to improve and take 30 minutes this week to start learning it. So write it down. What is it that you need to learn? And you must commit this week on how and when you're going to do it. Does anybody want to be brave and share what they wrote? Jim?
Well, I'll just do chat GPT.
Oh, you want to learn that more?
Yeah, I mean, actually, they have a course that I'll probably just jump in on Coursera
Yeah.
called prompt engineering. I didn't realize what it was. So it's like, how do you write a prompt? This is the key to
Oh, yeah.
everything in chat.
Prompting is everything. When you're dealing with artificial intelligence, it's all about the prompt. What do you want the AI to do?
Right.
That's good. Anybody else?
I'll say crafting creative offers, kind of what Aaron Hafner has been talking about. Not just lowering sales price, but in this market, what else can we do to make it attractive to both the seller and to our buyer who we're representing?
Yeah, I've actually heard from Jim Durst yesterday, and they're literally going to implement exactly what we did here. A lot of people's kind of taken that concept, so that was I've heard that that's actually helped a couple other people. So we'll get more info on what exactly happened. I don't know if anyone had multiple offers again all of a sudden after being on the market for like 44 days, but it's, yeah, that's the type of thing that we have to do in here is constantly shift and look at ways. So good stuff. Anybody else on Zoom want to share? Before I start moving on. We're gonna jump to the execute next. All
Okay,
right.
I'll
Go ahead.
share.
All right, Janet, go for it.
I one skill that I wanna, you know, improve on is videos. So I started a few recently, and
Great.
so that's just something that I need to be more comfortable in front of a camera.
Yeah, that's definitely a piece of relevant real estate in 2025. I mean, for sure. Tom Ferry talked about it a decade ago almost, he's like, yep, videos is going to be everything. You got to get comfortable, just you got to do it. It's a piece of, of things that you do in real estate to stay relevant. Don't forget, we have video studio here. McKenna is fantastic. We have a lot of other people that do video. We've done video classes and courses through the years too, and we'll continue to do that. So don't forget, you've got resources here too, Janet, to help you with that. But that's great. All right, let's jump into execute, because if you don't execute what you've learned, it means nothing. Ideas are only valuable when acted upon. How many people like go to a convention and they see all these presenters and everything, and they're like, this is fantastic, I'm going to do this. Get back home, and they're like, yeah, I'm not going to do nothing. I'm going back to my same routine, same thing I do. I get up at the same time still. I don't work out. I don't do any reading. I don't do any vision boards. I don't do anything, right? It's like I just kind of just got right back into my old habits. That just tends to happen a lot. What about making the calls, setting the appointments? Right? If you're gonna get more business, you got to have more conversations and more appointments. I mean, that is the math to business. If you want more business, you've got to have more conversations and more appointments. Key thing though is building daily habits around prospecting, following up. Follow up is so huge. And marketing. I was talking to someone, had a conversation, and they were telling me they've done a ton of open houses. They've actually had a long list of all these people who've registered. I'm like, okay, you just did an open house just past weekend. It's Monday. So let me see the list. Like, you want me to give you my list like now? I'm like, yeah, let me see the list. Okay, so you had 7 people, so you've already called them, right? After the open, or did you call them today yet? And they're like, no. It's like the follow-up is like where the business is. And realistically, you kind of need to learn this habit that you follow up until you're told not to follow up anymore. Because the funny thing is, people get these messages you leave. They see the emails, they see the texts, they see all these things, and then all of a sudden they just fade away, right? You stop doing it. But the truth is, people will never respond until they're what? Ready, Paul? We said it, ready. Ready. Until they're ready. People are busy. I mean, that's it. If you call one time and they don't respond, and then all of a sudden you send a text, they didn't respond. All of a sudden, like, what percent of people you think all of a sudden they just quit following up after that? What percent you think?
80 something.
80 something? You're probably pretty close. It's very high. It's extremely. First and foremost, what percent even follow up at all? Little. Yeah. You need to design a system to where you are being engaging with every single person that you cross paths with. If they sign in and they sign in your registration, I think it's a great idea. I know some people say, hey, would it be okay if I followed up with you to let you know what happened with this property? Like how many offers they got, did they have an inspection? Would that be helpful to you? Like, would it be okay? That's kind of like the key phrase that you should really learn. I think that's also in the book, for exactly what to say in real estate. Would it be okay? Would it be okay if I followed up with you to let you know if any other properties in this neighborhood go on the market? Like, that's something that, like, if you just get in the habit of constantly just following up and you don't stop, you will be shocked at the difference on what happens.
But this market, I mean, it seems like you should be asking if they have a buyer broker here. I don't think you'd want to be saying, I'm gonna follow up.
You know what? I think that's, what percent of people tell you they're working with a broker and they're really not? Do you think there's a high percentage?
I do, yeah.
I think you should be customer service oriented the entire time until it gets to that point to where, oh, are you currently working with a broker? When you need to say that, that's fine. But until you kind of really get to that point, you should always be just providing service and not quite worrying about that until it's the time to do that. Because you'll be shocked. Because a lot of times, I'm telling you, there's some bad agents out there. There's some really bad, go see some Redfin open houses. I will just straight up throw them under the bus. There'll be people like sitting there, they're on their phone, like, yeah, come on in. Watching, I'm on YouTube, whatever, and people come in and they're like, hi, do you have any offers on this? They're, I don't really know. If you sign in, I'll have someone contact you or whatever. I mean, literally, they say nothing. A lot of them. Majority. You could tell your clients that they're like, oh, we're thinking of going with this other company. I say, I would go visit one of their open houses before you make that decision. And then pull it up and say, here you go, here's one. Go see this house. They're having an open this weekend. Go see how the interaction is. Let them go see. You just from you doing that, you will have a lot of people just come back to you immediately like, yeah, that was terrible. You'll be surprised. Focus on consistency over perfection. Done is always better than perfect. So many people get stuck on that, I need it to be perfect before I implement it process. There's always these two kinds of brokers or people when we meet. They're like, I need to know everything before I start working. Otherwise I can't do it. And then there's the complete opposite of people like I'm just gonna go talk to people because I love people and I can talk to anybody. So I'm just gonna be out there talking and I'll figure the other stuff out later. It's always like one of the two, right? Where do you fall in? Where do you fall into place? I think it should be a happy medium of you should know enough to at least, when you're engaging, but I also agree at the same time of people who just jump into the deep end of the pool and you just start working. You don't need more ideas. You need to execute the ones you already have. There's a lot of shiny stuff out there. And brokers are constantly like, oh, what is that? Hey, technology, that'll completely change my business. And I'll know I'll do it. I'll know it can make me more money. But the funny thing is that technology, when it comes down to real estate, what percentage do you think that people utilize on average a company's technology? Do you guys know?
10%.
It's barely above that. Yeah, it's like 18%. That's it. And it really comes down to that 80-20 rule. Have you guys heard of the 80-20 rule? It's you can find it in like a ton of stuff. But about 20% of the people that is about it who use stuff. All the time. Companies like invest, even our own, they invest millions of dollars. 20% use it. That's just the name of the game. Nothing's perfect, and there is no magic pill. Realistically, magic pill is consistent work. All right, how do we learn to execute? We've all left classes fired up, then didn't do anything. Execution is what separates doers from dreamers. Remember I was talking about earlier about how many people, go to these seminars? 10%. 10% is about the only people who will change. This is why if you go to Tom Ferry, he tells everyone, he's like, come to the event, but you need to find 3 things. That's it. Out of all of the stuff we're going to present, what 3 things will you do? Because he knows if you don't tell people to concentrate on picking just a few items, they'll get overwhelmed. They get lost in the minutia. They get just drowned in the information, and they just won't execute. They won't do it. So you really got to pick and choose. Like, what will I actually do? What will I actually implement? What's your daily plan? Are you following it or winging it? All of us had some type of a job, I imagine, before you got into real estate. I want you to think about that job. Don't think on it too long. But you had a schedule, I'm guessing, right? You had deadlines. You had to clock in, clock out, right? You were told what to do in some cases. Sometimes people are like, yeah, I hated it. But realistically, the thing that you have to take away from those old jobs is you had schedules. And that's the part that real estate brokers really suck at. They do not have a schedule and actually follow it. They don't implement it. They just kind of like, well, I'm in real estate, so right, I got into this, so I didn't have to work a lot, right? And it's a complete opposite of that. You could work 24/7 in real estate, could you not?
Yes. Yes.
If you had your phone on and say, hey, I'll show houses at 1:30 in the morning. Did you guys hear about this guy who did a 24-hour open house? Got a ton of news, ton of publicity. Yeah, he kept this house open for 24 hours. And he live streamed it. People came in at like 2 in the morning. It was crazy.
So we did agree.
But the thing is, that's the thing, is that you had schedules before. Why don't you do that now? You would get so much more done if you said, I'm getting to the office by 9 a.m. And from 9 to 9:15, I will get set up, I'll have my coffee, I will get my schedule opened up, I will review my last emails. And then exactly at 9:30 a.m., I will call through every single person that came to my open houses in the past week. And I did 4 open houses. I'm calling every single one of them. If you just went voice to voice or face to face, also in your business, you would see huge difference. I know other technology is out there like, oh, we'll automatically have AI and it's gonna call and leave a message with your voice. This is out there already, you guys. You have your voice and here's the message it'll leave. Hi, Samantha. This is Eric Scholl with John L. Scott Real Estate. How are you today? Here could be like, Eric, are you okay?
Right.
I mean, that stuff's there, but it's not gonna, the relationships are gonna trump everything when it gets to that level. But you gotta stay consistent in it or it will pass you by. Do you have a schedule? Your calendar should be filled up with things that you automatically do each week. And the problem is most of you do not, and you're just reactive. You're like a spider in a web. I'm just gonna wait here until that buyer fly kind of swirls around and gets attracted to my social media I've been doing, and they're gonna land right on my web, and I'm gonna pounce on them. And I'm gonna sign a buyer's agency agreement, and we're gonna go out and I'll sell my house. But if you were actually like, I'm showing up, I'm doing this, here's the calls I make. When you look at all the top producers, guaranteed that they're not working like you think. Like, oh, I'm at the beach, I'm at, no, they have schedules and they stick to it consistently. Because they understand the secret. The secret sauce is in a schedule. Do you work in the office at least 2 to 3 times a week? Do you guys know that when you're actually in here and together, do you see the difference, like in the energy, in the interaction, and more importantly, in the opportunity? There are more opportunities when you come together than anything. Because when you're at home, sorry, Zoom people, gotta pick on you. If you're at home, you're in the same 4 walls. You're not walking in and accidentally bumping into someone who says, hey, I can't take this buyer. Will you please take them? Here's a referral. Sign the new Form 11A. Form 11, here's a referral agreement. You miss out on that. You miss out on opportunities. Yes, we get floor calls once in a great while. Yes, we get sometimes Blue Origin people walk up and say, hey, can someone help me with real estate? And they walk up and ask. Those things happen. No one's walking into your house doing the same thing. You're not going to get that. And the other thing that you're constantly going to get is the encouragement. You're going to get the motivation. You're going to get the opportunities. You're going to get the ideas. And you're going to get the accountability. You just don't get that at home. And now I do believe there's a fine level in this. You shouldn't be in every single day and you're not out out in the streets, meeting people.
We don't want to see you at the.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fine level. You should definitely have that balance, right? It should be a good, healthy amount there. But if you have no business, then yeah, you should be in here every day. And you should be beating down doors and getting more ideas and getting the accountability you need to kind of get that even the I guess the courage to go do some different things too. Because I think that's something else that people really learn from each other here is like, they'll say something like, hey, what are you doing? What have you been doing? Okay, I don't see your name on the listing board. What's going on? What's going on with your business? So it's not even just like us yelling at you guys, it's the other brokers and it's other people here. There's just so much more activity. And the closer you are to that energy, the more energy it actually transfers to you. It is 100% true. All right, here's your pro tip to execute. I want you guys to take 60 seconds, write down one income producing activity you're skipping that you'll commit to doing this week. Whether it's the follow-up I talked about, whether it's a schedule, whether it's a commitment to come into the office more, whatever the thing is that you're going to actually do, write it down. And if anybody's brave enough to share it, Zoom people, you included. Who wants to share? Open it up. Zoom people, a lot more of you than there is of us today.
I could create a schedule, because, this week, it's huge for me, because I'm going, lower.
Lower hours.
Yeah, so now I'll have more days for real estate, like fully,
Yeah,
so I need to be super know what I'm doing each day,
yeah,
so creating a schedule.
that's perfect. If you want accountability on that, then we'll definitely help you. Anybody else? Zoom? You guys are being quiet. Don't make me start. I'll stop sharing and I'll put everybody on the screen and call you out.
I need to I need to focus more on my endurance and not be afraid of rejection, wrap my arms around rejection, and keep beating on the doors of the people who they don't tell me to piss off, right? But they just don't give me the answer that I want at that time,
Yeah.
and not take it personal and just keep going.
Dude, you're gonna love some of these next sections coming up because we're gonna talk exactly about that. That's really good, Chase. All right. Anyone else want to share before I move on?
Well, sure.
Go for it, Tony.
I'm actually working on getting the top 3 things that I need to get done for the day off my plate at the very beginning of the day.
I love that.
It's something that I've always practiced, but I kind of fell off the last month. And now I'm like, remind myself like, no, first top 3 things, get it out of the way. And then I can move on.
So how are you setting that up? Because I want to make sure people
So-
understand.
Prioritization, right? So if you are. Everybody has a busy calendar. So what are the most important things that are gonna trip you up during the day that you can get out of your way initially? Writing up a contract for some of you is really hard, it takes time. Do it very first thing. But nobody's bothering you, there's no calls. Dog isn't, you don't have to walk the dog, you don't have to do this, you're not trying to go to the gym. You're not pushing it up against your appointment, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Do it the first thing, get it done, move on. If I have to adjust what time I'm getting up earlier.
Yeah.
Then adjust. The thing is, if you're looking at. So a good habit that I was taught is look at your week as a whole, set yourself up the night before. Look at your day. What you're doing the day of. And say, am I gonna realistically, if you struggle with writing contracts, let's just make that an example. Then I'm gonna actually get up half an hour earlier, so I can start half an hour earlier, so I can get it done, so it's out of the way. But you have to make those adjustments the day before.
Yeah.
Not the morning up, you wake up and show, oh, I should probably do that right away, like, you're already behind the 8 ball, so. Usually when I leave at night, you guys can go see it on my desk. I leave the top 3 things that I need to get done for the following day on my desk, ready to go.
That's amazing.
And I come in at the same time practically every day. And I get those things out of the way.
That's good. That's really good. Thank you for sharing, Tony. All right, time to adopt. What worked yesterday might not work today, and this is just so key. Real estate brokers get amnesia, they forget. It's because they always fall into that trap of when you get success one time, you just want to repeat it, right? It's just nature, or it's natural. You're like, I did an open house, I met one buyer, I went on a consultation, they signed the agreement, I showed houses, we went out, we wrote it up, we got it closed, I got a deal. I gotta go back to the beginning. What did I do, to get that success? They go back, they're like, yep, I'm doing an open house. But the problem is, brokers always shift way too late. If the market totally dried up of open houses, and that was the thing you were trying to do, like, oh my gosh, I can't get any open houses. Like no one's to have them anymore. Maybe they're not allowed or something. I'm just giving you like an example. But then people get so stuck on that rather than shifting to where the business is, kind of like surfing, right? The waves come in, you're trying to catch the same waves, and all of a sudden it gets, flat. And you're just like, I can't do exactly what I did before to get the success. And the only time you guys know when the market shifts is when?
You're not good.
Yeah, basically when it's already shifted, it's already changed. People are not changing just like, you're getting a ton of success in one thing and you're like, ooh, I sense a change in the market. I'm gonna go ahead and just automatically change to doing listings only. Like you don't, like people don't do that. They're always shifting after it's already changed. The question is how long do you take before you shift? Do you guys remember back in the beginning of May when I was telling everyone, I'm like, okay, get ready. Inventory is gonna just be dumping on. Inventory is gonna get crazy. You guys ready? And everyone's like, we even said it in April, like, get ready. It's gonna start changing. And everyone's like, oh, what happened, Eric? The market changed. It's like, I told you. Yeah, get. Why did I predict that? First of all,
Well, it always does.
it always does every year at the same time.
There's also,
The 6 phases to the yearly housing cycle,
there's also.
it's pretty dang close every year.
There's also larger phases than that.
Oh,
because
yeah.
I think back like with your adaptive strategy, COVID came, you had agents going out getting properties for their clients, so
Yeah.
there's no inventory.
Right,
Now we're in a market where we have more inventory,
right.
suddenly, so it's like, why is my listing selling?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like some of that stuff we're pretty good at predicting because of the 6 phases to the yearly housing cycle. And some of it we don't. Interest rates, right? It's been 3 years, in 3 years, last March. It's been 3 years since they've changed.
Right.
Did we predict that? No, we had no idea that they were gonna shift and get that high.
But it's a good thing.
But they, we talk a lot about rates. All right, what else? Embrace changes in buyer behavior and listing strategies. This is something that like we definitely talked about. I was telling everyone during the time, like, okay, if your listings heavy right now, you need to pay attention and start shifting and get some buyers. Why did I say that?
To balance out where their income stream is.
Exactly. But the market changed and shift to more inventory. Listings were taking longer to sell. If you only had listings and no buyers, you might not have closed deals in months. It could take time. I talked to one of our brokers who moved out of state, and he was telling me that their market timing for how long listings are on an average is 6 months. I was like, wow. I was like, whoa. So it's like, the market is what the market is. But you need to have, certain balances when it shifts. Pivot quickly when a lead source dries up or the market shifts. The first person that first mover advantage, Lennox talks about that all the time. There's always a first mover advantage in market shifts. And the people who identify it the fastest and gravitate to where the shift happens, you will get that business first and probably way faster. Ask for feedback or course correct often. We're always here for those coaching opportunities and accountability. But the quicker that you make those moves and the shifts, the stronger you'll be. Now we're getting to that part of the end of July. It's going to be August. August is where we will see a jump in activity for sales. Why?
For school.
Because school is coming. People want to be moved in place before school starts. So you're going to see a jump in activity. So absolutely new listings is where you probably should, be concentrating on at the same time of a balance of some buyers. Because there's still opportunities with all the buyers out there right now because of the elevated inventory. So look for more listings. Your ability to adapt determines your ability to survive and thrive. It's not just, unless you've got one certain type of niche that's the only thing you do no matter what, like maybe one of our, people in here who only does land, vacant land only, does not deal with any residential unless he's getting paid on each home that sells in the lot for a bonus. I mean, realistically, there's people that do that. You can get to those, you know, but it takes a really long time. And if you're trying to get something like that, you need a much, much higher level of education in that niche to outweigh doing anything else.
If I think about it, it's like, we were in the business, the short sale market.
Yeah.
That people who are getting paid commission and are getting a short sale commission too.
Yeah, short sales was a huge, I mean, that was the thing. I knew long ago that, you know, some of my mentors who taught me this, that you have got to gravitate to whatever that thing is that is getting the most activity in our market every single time. You've just got to be the fastest, you know, to it. Every time change happens. It's like, okay, that's the change. That's where it's gone. I'm going. I'm leading. I'm not waiting. There's so many people who are waiting during those times. I brought the first CDPE course in the state live, and I had like 230 something people, even tons of other brokers from other companies, you know, called like, hey, I see you're getting this class. Can I get signed up? Because people were finally like, oh, if I'm going to do short sales, I need to be certified. I need to know how to do them. And this will help me get more business with even like maybe potential lien holders for short sale negotiations or asset management. So we had a ton of people to that, and that gave us a ton of extra business because we were certified in it. And we put that out there, and we had a ton of people like even join our office from that. So it's like, that's what we're constantly need to look for. All right, how do we learn to adapt? Are you holding on to strategies that stopped working 6 months ago? That's the first thing. Like, if you're still stuck on stuff you were doing at the very beginning of the year or end of last year, and you still haven't shifted, that's where you're like, oh my goodness, I'm way far behind. And this is where some people do get stuck. But how do you adapt? Shift sooner. What has changed the most in our market? This year, what has changed the most? This is a question.
I think people feeling certain or safe, you know, job security.
Oh,
I think there's a lot of moods, uncertainties.
uncertainty was something we've been dealing with for a good couple years now, easily. More so, you know, the changing of, you know, presidential, you know, change, obviously. I mean, probably the biggest though shift is something different and a little more real estate specific though. What is it that happened this year?
Talking about the buyer didn't say agreement and the losses going on, commission sides or no?
No, the farm stuff's been changing for 3 years, 6 years total, but 3 years, the biggest changes. Tony?
Interest rate failing.
Yeah, interest rates. One other thing, there's 2 other like glaring ones.
Inventory?
Thank you. Inventory. It hasn't been this high since 2019.
Pre-COVID.
Pre-COVID. It's still not like crazy cuckoo high in the event that it's shifted our market to be 100% a buyer's market. There are some markets and pockets of markets that are even, and there might even be maybe 1 or 2 Z's that have like totally shifted to a buyer market. But for the most part, it's still seller's market. But the inventory is what has changed the most significant this year. How could you adapt to that change? I kind of said it earlier. Zoom people, what do you think?
Focus on buyers, find more buyers, eat up the
Yes.
inventory.
Thank you. If there's more inventory, if you shifted to get more, to work with more buyers, you have more opportunities there. Because that's something that you could be putting in your messaging out to your social media, right? Like, hey, have you been trying to buy a home for the past 3 years? Do you remember 2021 where literally like it was like selling houses like hotcakes? We literally were like, you get a house. Yes, come on down. I'm doing bids. Oh, the price was 700? No, actually it's 1 million now. You know, it was just crazy. It's not quite that crazy in the marketplace as a whole. So there's opportunities, buyers. You get selection. What else?
What do you then respond to the buyers that are waiting for that market crash?
There would have to be some crazy, tragic event to happen in order for that to occur. The main reason that why the market's not going to crash is that there's too much equity in every house. It's way different from like 2008, 9, and 10. The problem back then was the rules. They were making people like, oh, you want a house? And you don't even have a job, you qualify. Don't worry, because the house is going to keep going up in value so fast it doesn't even matter. We'll do a negative amortization.
And I was reading in the Wall Street Journal, some article, and we have the most amount of savings that we ever did
In history.
in history, because when the pandemic came, everybody saved their money, there's nothing to spend money on.
Yeah.
So per household, we have the most amount of savings, Americans.
Yeah.
That we ever have had.
Yeah.
So, and in the past 30 years, how I would answer that is in the past 30 years, besides a 2-3 year blip, houses have never gone down in value. Never.
Yep.
And prior to that was 1930. So, just to give you perspective. It's plain and simple.
Yes. For the people who say that, I'm gonna wait until the crack, like, where are they, where are you living now?
Where do you wanna buy it?
No, not even that, but where are you living? And they go, oh, I live in, and they're renting. If you're renting, they're paying a 100% interest rate. None of the money, they'll get none of those benefits of the tax benefits, of the actually owning something that is theirs, that they can do what they want with it, improve it, rent it, make income streams from it. They miss out on all of that. Everyone's paying a mortgage, probably, right? In those, in that case. So they're just paying 100%. Do you want to pay something that's 8 or 7 or 6, or maybe 5 in the next, year or two? Interest rates is a small piece to that. But for the people who say they're just constantly going to wait for those things, by the time that they actually happen, if they would have bought way back when they had the opportunity, they would have made so much more money. It's insanity. Real estate is one of the top vehicles to generational wealth. It just simply is. That's what most families kind of bank on. It really does. Client expectations, faster response times, smarter marketing, and social proof. You can do all of this to adapt. And then last, get accountability. If you want to adapt, you need accountability to help get there. Any runner or pro athlete who have coaches, it makes a huge difference in what they do. And it's because you get pushed. We do so much better when someone else is watching. Does anybody run? Any runners? I see you run. What happens when you're running and someone just kind of passes you? What happens? You what? You start running faster naturally. Why? Why do you do that? Why do we do that?
Cause I want to.
Yeah, it's the competition. It's the whole thing. Like, Like, no, you're not passing me. It's that whole thing of something else. If it's there, if someone else is there and then they're pushing you, you will be better. This kind of goes back to that same thing I said earlier about if you're staying at home all the time and you're not like coming in and getting that energy and the encouragement, like I'm telling you, it is such a huge difference. Such a huge difference. You will like see the difference it makes in your business. All right, here's your pro tip to how to adapt. Where are you resisting change in your business because it's uncomfortable? Wherever you're most uncomfortable, that's probably where you need to gravitate to get better. So if maybe it's practicing, a seller presentation. If that makes you uncomfortable, do more of it. Or buyer consultations. Write down where you feel the most uncomfortable. Maybe it's asking for the sale. I've worked with a broker. This person, his presentations, everything were amazing. This guy was really good about all of his stuff, his systems, his tools. He would go present to sellers. I'm like, bro, you went on 3 appointments this week, and how many did you get signed around? And he's like, well, yeah, nothing yet. I'm like, wow, 3? And then I'd see him again, like, went on 2 more. Like 2 weeks later, he had 2 more. I'm like, okay, any of the 3 signed, get signed yet? He's like, no. What about these last 2? No, nothing yet. I'm like, okay, timeout. There's something wrong here. Like, what? I need to know, like, tell me, like, what were the conversations? Like, what were you, tell me exactly what you said. What did the seller say? What did you say? So we went over this and he goes, yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate you, let me present today. And I asked him about the material. He said, oh yeah, they loved it. I gave them the Unibind. They were blown away. They showed me even what the competition had. And it was like it was like 2 pieces of paper with single lines, and like I blew it away and I blew them away. And I'm like, hey, but where is it? I know you're missing something. Come to find out, the very last thing he was saying was like, so go ahead, call me when you're ready. Call me. I was like, there it is. He was like, what? He was a very nice guy, just super nice. Just call me when you're ready. I'm like, you're not asking for the sale. That's it. He's like, well, I don't want to be a hard salesman. I don't want to do that. I'm like, no, you don't understand. You are not asking for the sale. You literally are leaving it to them when they are ready enough to actually like engage to do it. You need to have your contract written out, have your 1A fully filled out. You already have it signed. And then when at the very end of your next appointment, you're going to open it up and you're going to say, I'm ready to get started. Are you ready? And just like show them where they need to sign. And he said that the first time he did it, he was really nervous because he was like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. He filled it. He had it ready. He's like, oh, because I'm like, you got to promise me. Because he was like, I don't want to do this. He was so uncomfortable. As soon as he did it on the first appointment, he said he was sweat too. He's like, I was so sweaty and like just freaking out. He laid it out and he goes, Eric, they signed it. I'm like, this has been your problem. If you're not asking for the sale, you seriously are missing out. A lot of brokers do this. They fall into that trap. He called one of the other people to follow up. And when he called them, they said, oh yeah, hey, we ended up, going with someone else because we were ready. And they literally they had, we needed to get listed. We're moving to Texas. So, I mean, yeah. And they were like, yeah, we loved all your stuff. We probably would have went with you, but this person literally came in and they had the contract and we just signed. So from that moment, he knew that, yeah, okay, I've been screwing up. I have not been asking for the sale. So where is it that you're most uncomfortable? It's probably where you're missing business because you're just not working on getting uncomfortable in that. So write that down. Does anybody want to share that one? I know we're a teeny bit over. Where are you most uncomfortable?
For me,
Yeah.
it's who I'm going to for my leads right now. Or previously, it had been to a certain person, a position in each senior community. Now I'm changing that because I'm finding out those people in those positions are not referring to me. So I'm changing who it is. So
That's
it's
great.
hard to do.
Yeah. See that's those little things, Cal. Like I'm telling you, where you got that most uncomfortable feeling in your business, and it's a good, thing that you should be doing, and you hear people saying this. Like Janet said earlier, video. Like, oh, like I don't want to do video. Like that part where you feel uncomfortable, if you just keep doing it, 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 and you just do not stop, you don't let yourself stop, and you schedule it, you will be good. It's so funny. Like sometimes people are like, oh my gosh, that was such a good video. Talking to someone who's been doing some videos in here lately, that was one thing that this person literally opened up and said, yeah. And here I was like, but I've seen your videos, they're great. I don't like doing them. Like, you gotta get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Just find where it is. Anyone else before we jump to the last section?
I think being consistent, so.
Being consistent too is,
That's uncomfortable, like, you just wanna do something different, you don't wanna do the same thing, but like,
Yeah.
just gotta trust the process.
that's it. Trust the process, trust the recipe. I heard this a long time ago. One of my mentors had said, hey, if Chef Ramsay, you bumped into him and you were like, oh my gosh, this is like one of the best cooks on the planet. If you're talking about his beef Wellington, some recipe or something, and he literally said, here, Eric, I want you to have this. And he gave you the recipe. When you went home to cook that, what would you do? Would you deviate anything on that paper? No, first of all, you'd probably put it in a plastic or a glass case so you never even like messed it up. You would follow it to an exact T. I mean, if it said 2 cups of flour, you probably would be like on the table to make sure your eye level was so level, and you would be scraping it exactly like to the milligram, or you would be like, I need it to be exactly of that recipe. Why? Why would you do that? Because you trust the expert. That's the funniest thing. When people get into real estate, we tell them the recipe. We work with millionaires, multimillionaires. We know what they do. We've taught them what to do. But oh no, brokers are like, nah, I got to do it my way. I'm going to change that. I'm going to make it different. That is the truth. People do, like, we tell them, we say, here's the recipe, you guys follow it. And they're like, oh, yeah, that's great, that's great. And then it gets to that step for the 2 cups of flour, they're like, I don't know, man. I might switch to almond paste or something different. I'm gonna change it up. It's all about the marketing, right? My signage needs to be my face and name. It's gotta be like people get stuck into these little things that really don't make a difference. I mean, I've heard people too, like, oh, I'm gonna spend all this money on my website. I'm like, you do that, I'm gonna slap you. Like, that game is over. Zillow, Redfin, Homes.com, Realtor.com, unless you have multi-millions of dollars to pump into advertising and to do TV ads and Super Bowl ads, it doesn't really matter. Clients don't give a damn about your website anymore. They do care that it's professional, it looks nice, presentable, it's easy to use. They care about that, but it's not something they're going to shift to. Like, oh yeah, I'm done with Redfin, I'm done with Zillow. You can't compete. You cannot compete when they have multi-millions of dollars. Look how fast homes.com is springing with activity because they dumped millions into it.
Right.
You guys can't compete with that. Don't get stuck in that. When you get a recipe, follow it. Seriously, it's a little frustrating when we're like, follow your database, like build a database. And they're like, I don't know, man, I might just buy leads off this thing. I'm like, like, who's gonna trust you more? People who already know you? Or strangers in a system who like clicked on something and all of a sudden you're calling now.
A
They're
lot
like,
of people.
hey, why are you calling me? I just clicked on a thing to see the price. Tony?
And to the recipe analogy,
Yeah.
perfect the recipe first. And then if you wanna use different type of tomatoes, go for it.
Yeah.
But at least you know the recipe well. And you wanna adapt it and make it your own.
Yeah.
That's
Nothing wrong with that.
nothing wrong with that. If you find better ways to make them, maybe the tomatoes are local and you change it to heirloom tomatoes.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
But get the recipe down for us.
Yes.
We cannot. Get the recipe down first, and then you can change it to whatever,
100%.
but you'll know where to make those tweaks. Once you perfected the recipe.
All right. Last but not least, and Chase talked about this earlier, but you got to persevere in business. The road to success is rarely a straight line. You're going to be pivoting a lot. Accept rejection as part of the process. You kind of have to have a little thick skin to be in this business. You're going to get a lot of no's. Don't let one bad month define your year. I literally know someone who started out in the year and they just had nothing for 3 months, like a massive goose egg. Got them to focus, get back to the basics, get an actual schedule, follow the recipe, and they're having one of their best years ever. And they're like, wow, this is great. Like, well, what really changed? Well, I guess I finally like just followed it, like you said, I followed the schedule, I followed a recipe, and I'm sticking to it and not deviating. It's funny how like that happens. Stay committed to your vision, especially when it's hard. This definitely is where it's hard. But if you have the vision, you have the right place, you're in the right office, you just have to stick to it. This reminds me of that image. Have you guys ever seen this image that comes up a lot? And it's two caves, and there's one guy walking away dragging his pickaxe, and there's dirt in the wall where he's been digging and digging, and there's someone underneath him that's like the same path, and they literally broke through to the wall of diamonds. Have you seen that? Real estate is a lot like that. You just keep digging, keep your head down, keep going, keep going, keep going. Every top producer was once a struggling agent who didn't quit. I guarantee you, if you talk to a couple top producers and ask them, say, did you ever think about quitting this business? Nobody's laughing. I guarantee most of them, if they're honest, they will tell you, yeah, I definitely did. When was it? Maybe that's something that you can ask them, like, when was it? And what was it that you did that turned around your business? How do we learn to persevere? Most brokers fail not because of skill, but because of burnout or discouragement. Like, oh my goodness, I remember like talking to someone who like literally wanted to quit because this person literally was losing out with every single buyer. Every buyer contract they wrote, they just weren't winning. Just over and over again, they're like, I'm so burned out, I can't do this anymore. And I haven't had a paycheck in 2 months. Real estate, that can happen. You can get into that. You can have one listing that's super overpriced and you're working your ass off to like get that thing sold, and you'll get stuck in that. And that's the only thing you can end up doing until it sells. Like you'll have one of those seasons where something like that will happen in your business, and it's because you're not shifting fast enough away from those things. That's sucking all your time. Normalize rejection. The best brokers here know all the time. They just don't let it define them. Anybody doing cold calls on expireds or canceled or for sale by owners? I mean, you're gonna hear more than no. You're gonna get cursed out, once in a while. But realistically, I knew a lot of coaches who used to say, you need to get 100 no's every week. Like you need to write down all the no's. And by the time you get to that 100th one, you'll look back and like, wow, look at the appointments I got though. Story about South Hill broker. I had a broker, she had been in the business for about 4 months. And she came to my office and she had tears in her eyes and she said, Eric, today's my last day. I'm quitting. I just can't do this. I'm like, really? Tell me why. Why are you quitting? Because this person I know like really had a great sphere, knew a lot of people, and she just wasn't grasping, I think, some of the concepts and stuff. She was doing all the contract stuff. She understood that, but it was just not quite grasping yet, like what to implement to make a difference to actually get success. So I had her tell me, I'm like, you know what? Can you do me a favor? Will you commit to doing this for at least give me 30 days? I want you to do 30 days, but you need to actually learn this and commit to it on such a high level that nothing's gonna stop you. Will you try this? I had her learn the certified seller marketing specialist course. And she's like, okay, I'll do it. So I said, sign here that you are committing to this and you're gonna come see me every 2 days. Every 2 days, you're coming back in and you're telling me like where you're at, so I know what's going on. All right, I'll do it. So she committed to it. She learned the certified seller marketing specialist system. She had learned the presentation for the guide. And I said, you need to learn this script like a Hollywood actor learns a script in a movie. You need to know it so well that it's actually you presenting it. You become the script. You're going to internalize it. If there's some word that you're like, yeah, I'll never use that word, I'm okay with you changing that and actually saying it. But you have to just know it like the back of your hand. So do whatever you have to do. You have to practice with friends, family, whatever. So she did. She, like every single day, she was just learning it, learning. She videotaped herself presenting. She learned like all the contracts, had it all ready, understood how to actually present. And she literally had learned how to ask for the sale, because that was a key element that I was putting in place. Like you have to ask for the sale, you have to do all that. So she did it, and she finally had a listing appointment. Some of you who come to forms class, you might even heard this story before. But she actually went and got a listing appointment. She got a lead from one of her past co-workers at her old job that she used to work. She said, yeah, her friend living in this neighborhood, they're selling, they're interviewing brokers. Like, all right, got an appointment, got in there. So she went, she presented, and there was another broker in my office, seasoned broker, been in the business for like 14 years, 15 years, very seasoned, did great business. All of a sudden, I found out that he was going on a listing appointment. Come to find out, they both were competing for the same listing. Monday morning comes in, and I see the first broker, the experienced broker come in, and he's walking in just normally. He's like, hey, how's it going? And he was on the phone when I saw him when he walked in, and he came to my office. He goes, oh, I didn't get that listing. I was like, oh, I was surprised. I thought it went good. So yeah, I did get it. In comes the new broker, who's newer, and she's walking out of her car, holding the piece of paper high. She's got the listing agreement, and she's walking into like, I got it. I got the listing. And the other broker's like, oh, cool. Where's your new listing? And as she's talking and talking, I'm looking at his face, and it just turns from a smile to frown, and I'm like, uh-oh, what is that about? So as soon as she like went around that, he came into my office, he goes, Eric, if a brand new broker can get in the business and beat me, like I need to like get on this and figure out like, what am I doing wrong? Cause obviously a brand new person can compete, like I don't even know how that happened. And come to find out, it was just learning that presentation, learning so well, and she was she did not like, she didn't want to work with sellers, she only wanted to try to find buyers, and here, that became her, like, power. She's like, I mean, she had a ton of listings, still to this day, she's a listing machine. So, it's like those moments, like, you gotta think about, like, people were, I mean, she was gonna quit, she wanted to quit, I didn't let her. You guys can do that same thing, it's all about what can you do to stay perseverant? Okay, your pro tip, write down one win you've had in the last 30 days, even a small one, and celebrate it. What win? Anybody want to share the wins? Zoom people, anybody? All right, you want to share?
Sure. I just said, build friendships with my past buyers. Because when I first started in real estate, a lot of the times I feel like a lot of people saw it as a transaction. And I didn't get that piece of like, no, this is more of a friend. It's something that you want to build bigger, and you wanna build on it, so, throughout the years, I started developing friendships and this recent year, like it just became more and more, and that's how I got referrals. And stuff like
Yeah.
that, So
It's
taking care of your people.
you definitely need to do it. One thing, I would say that there's two things. I want to make sure that when people, when you're still, it's natural to become friends with clients. If you're doing the right things and stuff like that, it just, people attract the same people, right? You just get connected that way. But there is a balance. You do need to make sure that you are always like the person that they look to when it comes to, protecting their investment. Like what if we quizzed everybody and asked everyone like, oh, what do you sell? What do you sell? A lot of them, like realtors, what do you think they say? Huh? Dreams, houses, homes, customer experience, right? If you actually focus in on that, you actually sell ROI. Because that's the truth.
Yeah.
The return on investment is really what you're selling. If houses didn't go up in value at all, then some of those other things you probably would be the same thing of what you would say. But once you understand that the return on investment is what you truly sell, that's something that you have to take to heart and talk to your clients so that they understand that you're more like a financial advisor. You gotta have that hat on too. It's great to have the friendships and yes, they're always gonna do that. But you have a job to do. And when they recognize that you are always there for them, that you're protecting that ROI, they will look at you differently. They'll say, yep, Vanessa cares about what I invested in, and that she's always gonna update me on what's happened with my equity, what's going on in the market. And we're still friends, and we get to hang out, and we get to have fun and do events and nothing. So when you do both, it'll change your business. All right, we're gonna look at a last couple things here about incorporating ninja selling principles, since we're really going full steam ahead on ninja training. Focus on building relationships over closing transactions. Relationships, just like you said, like that's where referrals happen. They just naturally happen if you're in tune with people. Be a trusted advisor, not a salesperson. Just like I said. Use daily habits like gratitudes, hot lists, and warm lists. If you use those, you will generate more business. Practice flow, frequent contact with your sphere of influence. Every week, you should be constantly going back to those past clients and to the people you know, because everyone wants to work with someone that they know, like, and trust. So you should, every week, you should be calling your database. Remember that recipe we talked about, not changing? That's part of it. And then last is value-driven, service-oriented, and mindset-focused. That is it for today, you guys. I hope that you learned some stuff and that you're gonna implement. It's all about implementing what you've learned. LEAP is not a, like I said, not a real estate only concept, but to realistically, you've got to constantly still be learning, executing, adapting, and then persevering. All right, thank you guys for making it today. We will see you on the next one. Bye, guys.
Thank you.
And for Ninja.
Yes, I know.